Okay, step one. You need sourdough starter. You need a starter. This is not that difficult. I got some from a friend, which you can do. Ask even a baker around your little town, wherever you live. Anyone that actually makes bread, even a bakery that makes bread. If you ask them for a little sourdough starter, they will give it to you. My friend Max, we were writing on a TV show, and he taught me all about bread. He's the whole reason I got into this in the first place. He brought me to his hotel room and gave me a little baggie of his sourdough starter. And it was like a drug deal in the middle of the night. And from that, I created this one. I have another sourdough starter, this one, that when I came home and told the story that Max had taught me about yeast floating around in the air and going into the thing, and this whole science fiction thing of where natural yeast comes from, my daughter actually created one and gave it to me as a gift at Christmas. She was probably, 13 at the time. It wasn't that difficult to do. You can do it. It's not that hard. All right, so what you need to do, if you don't have a friend with a sourdough starter, you're gonna need to make one. You get your little sourdough starter thing, your bin. You take your little scale, and this is easy. You set it at 0, which is very easy to do. Set it at 0. All right, so what you have to do, this is very easy. You take equal amount flour and water. That's it, just equal amounts. Now you can't do it by cup. You can, but the problem is flour packs. You gotta go by weight. You put it in, and look, everything I'm going to do, just as a side note, everything I'm going to do you could contradict, and you can have a better way of doing it, I'm sure. And as I've gone through all of these books and all these websites, everybody has their own opinion about how to do stuff and what's right and wrong. You got to kind of make it your own and just do it, and be kind of loose with it. Don't be all panicked and freaked out. This is an easy thing to do. So 50 grams of flour is a good place to start. And then you're going to add 50 grams of water. Something to keep in mind when you're baking bread, and you'll notice this when you start using a scale, water's heavy and it's fast. So what you put in, it's all of a sudden, it's going to keep an eye on it. It's rascally. 50 grams. All right, so we have equal parts flour and water. Basically, all you're doing is creating a trap for yeast that's going to fly around our heads. All right, you create this little goo. That's it. You leave it uncovered, and you leave it out. You can do partially covered so it doesn't dry out. All you're doing is setting this trap, and now there's all this yeast that's flying around our heads. You're going to notice that it's going to start getting active after a little bit. That means that the yeast has gone in, and it starts nibbling away at it. Now this is a time thing. We're not going to do this video ongoing for over a week, so I'm just going to tip you off when it has to happen. I'd love to spend that time with you, but I got stuff to do. Basically, the next stages of getting this active and getting it ready to bake and to be used into your bread, you've got to take away and add. And the mistake a lot of people make is they start thinking like, oh, it's not active, I gotta throw more flour and more water at it, and it starts to suffocate. This stuff, once it starts getting active, you can really take off basically down to a tablespoon and redo it. Add 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water, whatever it is. You're just kind of keeping it active and keeping it fed and making this into a sourdough starter. And eventually it will look, this one is rocking and rolling, it'll look like this. Ah, it smells so good. Once it's all made, you'll put it in a jar, you'll keep it, and it'll just you put it in the refrigerator. You gotta keep feeding it. This is a living thing. This is a living colony. There's bacteria in here. This is an active thing. It will die if you do not feed it. When I go away, I'll come back. If not, my family hasn't fed it, they all love the bread. My family loves eating the bread. They love getting the bread. They don't like working on the bread. So sometimes I'll ask them if I'm going on the road, please feed the starter. And they say yes, and sometimes they don't. And you come home, and there's alcohol on the top of it. It's fermentation, right? So it's fermenting, and that's where your alcohol comes from. They actually call it hooch. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that it's kind of hard to kill it completely. You'd really have to neglect it. So even after like a week and a half in the refrigerator not being fed, you come home, there's alcohol on top of it, you just pour that out, and then take a tablespoon of it, feed it, bring it back to life, and it'll be active again. That's it. You'll have your little jar of sourdough starter, and you'll be able to make bread. That's kind of amazing, isn't it?